Welcome, my fellow nightmare enthusiasts, to a realm where the ocean's depths conceal more than just darkness, where the whispers of the damned ride upon the tide. Tonight we set sail on a sea of terror, a voyage into the heart of maritime horror. We bring you three chilling encounters, three tales of phantom ships that will chill you to the bone. These are not stories for the faint of heart, for they speak of cursed vessels, vanished souls, and the spectral wrath of the sea. Make sure to turn off the lights, sit back and prepare to be terrified. The water's fine? To drown in... The year was 1882. The North Atlantic raged against the iron hull of the merchant schooner Albatross. The wind howled, whipping the rain into a blinding frenzy. Waves crashed upon the deck, threatening to swallow the vessel whole. Captain Silas Blackwood gripped the helm with white knuckles. He'd weathered many storms, but this one felt different. An unnatural chill pierced the air, seeping into the bones of his crew. As the Albatross rode a monstrous wave, a sight pierced the storm's fury. On the horizon, a spectral glow emanated from something. The men held their breath, dreading what awaited them. The spectral image grew closer. It was a ship, eerily still, seemingly untouched by the tempest. Its hull, blackened and ancient, seemed to absorb the light, giving it a shadowy quality. Terror seized the crew of the Albatross. Some muttered prayers, while others stood frozen in fear. This was no ordinary storm. This was something else entirely. Captain Blackwood ordered his men to steer clear of the ghostly vessel, but the storm pushed the Albatross closer to the spectral ship. The crew could make out the details of the ghostly vessel. Its masts were bare, its sails tattered, yet it moved with an unnatural grace. And then they saw them, figures on the deck. Skeletal figures draped in rotting garments, their empty sockets staring through the Albatross. The spectral figures moved about the deck, their movements jerky and unnatural. One figure stood out, its skeletal hand gripping the helm. It wore a captain's uniform, its skeletal jaw agape in a silent scream. Did the spectral captain turn, its hollow sockets fixing on the Albatross? Suddenly the phantom ship vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, swallowed by the storm. The storm began to abate, the wind howling its last breath. The crew of the Albatross could only stare, struggling to comprehend what they had witnessed. The Albatross limped back to port, its crew forever marked by their encounter. Captain Blackwood refused to speak of the experience, but those who knew him saw a change in his eyes. The spark of adventure had been replaced by a haunting dread. The tale of the Albatross spread throughout the maritime world. Some dismissed it as a sailor's yarn. Others who had sailed the North Atlantic knew better. They knew the sea held many secrets, some best left undisturbed. The Mary Celeste, a name synonymous with maritime mystery, a vessel forever etched in the annals of nautical nightmares. Her story is not one of ghostly apparitions, but of an even more unsettling horror, the complete and utter disappearance of her crew. Imagine, if you will, the tropical sun beating down on the calm waters of the Atlantic. The year is 1872, and the Mary Celeste is making a routine voyage from New York to Genoa, Italy, her hold laden with commercial goods. On board are Captain Benjamin Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter Sophia, and a seasoned crew of 7. By all accounts, the voyage is uneventful, the weather fair, the ship in good order. Then on December 4th, the Mary Celeste is spotted adrift in the vast expanse of the ocean, her sails partially set, her cargo intact, but her crew vanished. The discovery of the DEI Gratia, another merchant ship, sent shockwaves through the maritime world. What had become of Captain Briggs and his crew? What terror had befallen them on the high seas? The DEI Gratia found the Mary Celeste in a state of eerie preservation. The ship was seaworthy, her supplies plentiful, and her cargo undisturbed. There was evidence of a hasty breakfast, half-eaten meals still on the table, toys scattered in the captain's quarters. It was as if life had simply stopped. The ship's logbook, its final entry dated 10 days prior, provided no indication of distress or unusual occurrences. The last entry, written in Captain Briggs' own hand, simply read, "Weather fair, all well." Then, silence. Theories abounded, each more outlandish than the last. Mutiny, piracy, sea monsters, even alien abduction were all proposed as explanations for the crew's disappearance. Yet none of these theories could fully account for the baffling circumstances surrounding the Mary Celeste. There was no sign of struggle, no indication of violence or panic. The ship's lifeboat was still aboard, and personal belongings, including valuables, remained untouched. It was as if the crew had simply stepped off the deck and into the air, leaving behind their vessel and their former lives. The mystery of the Mary Celeste became a sensation, capturing the imagination of the public and baffling investigators for over a century. Books were written, documentaries produced, and countless theories debated, yet the fate of the Mary Celeste and her crew remained an enigma. Some whispered of supernatural forces, of vengeful spirits or ancient sea gods claiming the vessel and its occupants. Others spoke of rogue waves, sudden whirlpools, or even underwater earthquakes swallowing the crew whole. Chapter 3. The Cursed Vessel. The Black Leviathan, a name whispered in fear among sailors, a vessel shrouded in legend and steeped in a chilling curse. Her story is not one of sudden disappearance or ghostly apparitions, but of a creeping dread, a malevolent presence that clung to the ship like barnacles to her hull. The Black Leviathan began her life not as a harbinger of doom, but as a symbol of prosperity. Built in the early 1700s, she was a Dutch merchant ship, her hull designed to carry spices, silks and treasures from the Far East. Her maiden voyage was a success, her return met with celebration and promises of riches. But the Black Leviathan's fortune was short-lived. On her second voyage, tragedy struck. A violent storm, one that seemed to materialize out of thin air, caught the ship off the coast of Africa. Battered by wind and waves, the Black Leviathan was driven onto a treacherous reef, her hull ripped open like a wounded beast. Most of the crew perished, dragged down by the undertow or dashed against the unforgiving coral. Only a handful managed to cling to wreckage and make it to a nearby island. There they encountered a sight that chilled them to the bone. The island was uncharted, a desolate rock shrouded in an unnatural mist, and at its center stood a crumbling temple, its walls adorned with grotesque carvings of monstrous creatures and writhing human forms. Driven by desperation, the surviving crew sought shelter within the temple's shadow. As darkness fell, the survivors heard chanting coming from within the temple. Curious and desperate for any sign of life, they cautiously approached the temple's entrance. Peering inside, they witnessed a scene that would forever haunt their nightmares. A group of figures, their bodies painted with strange symbols, danced around a flickering fire. In the center of the circle lay a stone altar, and upon it a sacrifice, a human sacrifice. The chanting reached a fever pitch as a figure brandishing a ceremonial dagger raised the blade high. Horrified, the surviving crew turned to flee, but it was too late. The figures had seen them. With inhuman speed, the island's inhabitants descended upon the sailors, their eyes burning with an unholy light. The sailors fought back, but they were no match for the frenzied, ritualistic fury of their attackers. One by one, the sailors fell, their screams swallowed by the mist. The last surviving sailor, his mind teetering on the edge of madness, managed to escape back to the wreckage of the Black Leviathan. As dawn broke, he watched in horror as the island, along with the temple and its inhabitants, vanished into the mist as if it had never existed. Rescued days later by a passing ship, the sailor's tale was met with disbelief. But there was something in his eyes, a haunted look that spoke of unspeakable horrors. He died soon after, raving about a curse, a darkness that clung to him, to the wreckage of the Black Leviathan. Salvage crews eventually reached the site of the wreck, hoping to recover the Black Leviathan's valuable cargo. But strange things began to happen. Equipment malfunctioned, accidents plagued the salvage operation, and crew members reported feeling watched, followed by an unseen presence. The ocean's depths hold countless stories, and some, like the ones we've shared tonight, are best experienced from the safety of your screen. The tales of phantom ships serve as chilling reminders that the vast expanse of the sea is a realm where reality can be stranger than fiction. Thank you for joining us on this terrifying journey through the haunted seas. We hope these tales have sent shivers down your spine and left you with a lingering sense of unease. If you enjoyed these chilling tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-tingling stories. And until next time, stay safe and beware of what lurks in the dark waters. Sleep well, if you can.